The Odyssey, by Homer, translated by Ian Johnston, read by Anton Lesser. Book 1. Athene visits Ithaca. Muse, speak to me now of that resourceful man who wandered far and wide after ravaging the sacred citadel of Troy. He came to see many people's cities, where he learned their customs, while on the sea his spirit suffered many torments, as he fought to save his life and lead his comrades home. But though he wanted to, he could not rescue them. They all died from their own stupidity, the fools. They feasted on the cattle of Hyperion, god of the sun. That's why he snatched away their chance of getting home someday. So now, daughter of Zeus, tell us his story, starting anywhere you wish. The other warriors, all those who had escaped being utterly destroyed, were now back safely home, facing no more dangers from battle or the sea. But Odysseus, who longed to get back to his wife and reach his home, was being held in a hollow cave by that mighty nymph Calypso, noble goddess, who wished to make Odysseus her husband. But as the seasons came and went, the year arrived in which, according to what gods had once ordained, he was to get back to Ithaca, his home. Not that he would be free from troubles even there, among his family. The gods pitied Odysseus, all except Poseidon, who kept up his anger against godlike Odysseus and did not relent until he reached his native land. But at that moment, Poseidon was among the Ethiopians, a long way off, those same Ethiopians, the most remote of people, who live divided in two different groups, one where Hyperion goes down, the other where he rises. Poseidon went there to receive a sacrificial offering to him, bulls and rams, and was sitting at a banquet, enjoying himself. But other gods had gathered in the great hall of Olympian Zeus. Among them all, the father of gods and men was first to speak. In his heart, he was remembering royal Aegisthus, whom Orestes, Agamemnon's famous son, had killed. With him in mind, Zeus addressed the gods. "It's disgraceful how these humans blame the gods. They say their tribulations come from us, when they themselves, through their own foolishness, bring hardships which are not decreed by fate. Now there's Aegisthus, who took for himself the wife of Agamemnon, Atreus' son, and then murdered him once the man came home. None of that was set by fate. Aegisthus knew his acts would bring about his total ruin. We'd sent Hermes earlier to speak to him. The keen-eyed killer of Argus told him not to slay the man or seduce his wife, for Orestes would avenge the son of Atreus, once he grew up and longed for his own land. That's what Hermes said. But his fine words did not persuade Aegisthus in his heart, so he has paid for everything in full." Athene, goddess with the gleaming eyes, answered Zeus, "Son of Kronos, and father to us all, you who rule on high, yes indeed, Aegisthus now lies dead, something he well deserved. May any other man who does what he did also be destroyed. But my heart is torn for skilful Odysseus, ill-fated man, who has had to suffer such misfortune for so many years, a long way from friends. He's on an island, surrounded by the sea, the one that forms the ocean's navel stone. In the forests of that island lives a goddess, daughter of tough-minded Atlas, who knows the ocean depths, and by himself holds up those gigantic pillars which separate earth and heaven. That's the one whose daughter prevents the sad, unlucky man from leaving. With soft, seductive speech she keeps tempting him, urging him to forget his Ithaca. But Odysseus yearns to see even the smoke rising from his native land, and longs for death. And yet, Olympian Zeus, your heart does not respond to him. Did not Odysseus offer you delightful sacrifices on Troy's far-reaching plain beside the ships? Why then, Zeus, are you so angry with him?" Cloud-gatherer Zeus then answered her and said, "My child, what a speech has passed the barrier of your teeth! How could I forget godlike Odysseus, pre-eminent among all mortal men for his intelligence and offerings to the immortal gods who hold wide heaven? But Earth-shaker Poseidon is a stubborn god, constantly enraged about the Cyclops, the one whose eye Odysseus destroyed, godlike Polyphemus, the mightiest of all the Cyclopes. Thoosa bore him, a nymph, a daughter of that Phorcys who commands the restless sea. Poseidon, down in those hollow caves, had sex with her. That's the reason Earth-shaker Poseidon makes Odysseus wander from his country. Still, he has no plans to kill him. But come, let's all of us consider his return, so he can journey back to Ithaca. Poseidon's anger will relent. He can't fight the immortal gods all by himself, not with all of us opposing him." Goddess Athene, with the gleaming eyes, replied to Zeus, "Son of Cronos and father to us all, ruling high above, if the immortal gods now find it pleasing for the wise Odysseus to return back home, then let's send Hermes, killer of Argus, as our messenger, over to the island of Ogygia, so he can quickly tell that fair-haired nymph our firm decision that brave Odysseus will now leave and complete his voyage home. I'll go to Ithaca and urge his son to be more active, put courage in his heart, so he will call those long-haired Achaeans to assembly and there address the suitors who keep on slaughtering his flocks of sheep and shambling bent-horned cattle. I'll send him on a trip to Sparta and sandy Pylos to learn about his father's voyage home. He may hear of it somewhere, and to gain a worthy reputation among men." Athene spoke. Then she tied those lovely sandals on her feet, the immortal golden sandals which carry her as fast as stormy blasts of wind across the ocean seas and endless tracts of land. She took with her that weighty, powerful spear, immense and sturdy, with a point of sharpened bronze, with which she conquers ranks of human warriors when they annoy her, daughter of a mighty father. She raced down from the peak of Mount Olympus, sped across to Ithaca, and then just stood there, at Odysseus' outer gate before the palace, on the threshold, gripping the bronze spear in her fist. She looked like Mentes, a foreigner, the chief who ruled the Taphians. There she met the suitors, those arrogant men, who were enjoying themselves playing checkers right outside the door, sitting down on hides of cattle they themselves had butchered. Some heralds and attendants were keeping busy blending wine and water in the mixing bowls. Some were wiping tables down with porous sponges and setting them in place, while others passed around huge amounts of meat. Godlike Telemachus observed Athene first, well before the others. He was sitting with the suitors, his heart troubled, picturing in his mind how his noble father might get back, scatter the suitors from his home, win honor for himself, and regain control of his own household. As he thought about all this, sitting there among the suitors, he saw Athene. He immediately walked over to the outer gate, for in his heart he considered it disgraceful that a stranger should remain a long time at his door. He moved up near Athene, grasped her right hand, and took her bronze-tipped spear. Then he spoke to her. His words had wings. "Welcome to you, stranger. You must enjoy our hospitality. Then, after you've had some food to eat, you can tell us what you need." Saying this, Telemachus led Pallas Athene into his home. She followed. Once they'd come inside the high-roofed house, he walked to a tall pillar carrying the spear and set it in a finely polished rack, which held many other spears belonging to Odysseus. He brought Athene in and sat her in a chair, a beautifully crafted work. Under it he rolled out a linen mat, and then arranged a footstool for her feet. Beside her he drew up a lovely decorated chair for him to sit in. They were some distance from the other people, in case the noise the suitors made disturbed the guest and made him hate the meal because it had to share the company of overbearing men. Then, too, Telemachus wanted to discuss his absent father. A female servant carried in a fine gold jug and poured water out into a silver basin, so they could wash their hands. Beside them she set down a polished table. Then the worthy housekeeper brought in the bread and set it down before them. Next she laid out a wide variety of food, drawing freely on supplies she had in store. A carver sliced up many different cuts of meat and served them. He set out goblets made of gold, as a herald went back and forth, pouring their wine. Then, one after another, the proud suitors came. They sat down on reclining seats and high-backed chairs. Heralds poured water out for them to wash their hands, and women servants piled some baskets full of bread, while young lads filled their bowls up to the brim with drink. The suitors reached out with their hands to grab the tasty food prepared and placed in front of them. When each and every man had satisfied his need for food and drink, their hearts craved something more, dancing and song, the finest joys of dinner feasts. A herald gave a splendid lyre to Phemius, so he was forced to sing in front of all the suitors. On the strings he plucked the prelude to a lovely song. But then Telemachus, leaning his head over close to Athene so no one else could listen, murmured to her, "Dear stranger, my guest, if I tell you something, will I upset you? These men here, they spend all their time, like this, with songs and music. It's so easy for them, because they gorge themselves on what belongs to someone else, and with impunity. A man whose white bones now may well be lying on the mainland somewhere, rotting in the rain or in the sea, being tossed around by waves. If they saw him return to Ithaca, they'd all be praying they had swifter feet rather than more wealth in gold or clothes. But by now some evil fate has killed him, and for us there is no consolation, not even if some earth-bound mortal man should say that he will come. The day has passed when he might have reached home. But tell me, and speak candidly, who are your people? Who are you? What city do you come from? What about your parents? What kind of ship did you sail here in? And the sailors, by what route did they bring you to Ithaca? Who do they say they come from? For I know there's no way you could reach me here on foot. And I also need to understand one point, so tell me the truth. This present visit, is it your first journey here, or are you a guest friend of my father's? Many men have come here to our home as strangers since he became a roaming wanderer among all sorts of people." Then Athene, goddess with the gleaming eyes, answered Telemachus, "To you I will indeed speak openly. I can tell you that my name is Mentes, son of the wise Anchialus, and king of the oar-loving Taphians. I've come, as you surmise, with comrades on a ship sailing across the wine-dark sea to men whose style of speech is very different, on my way to Temese for copper, and carrying a freight of shining iron. My ship is berthed some distance from the city, close to the fields in Rhithron's harbour, below Mount Nion's woods. We can both claim that we are guest friends, the two of us, just as our fathers were so long ago. If you want, go up and ask Laertes, that old warrior, who, men say, no longer comes down to the city, but who bears his troubles in fields far out of town. But he has with him an old attendant woman, who prepares his food and drink, once his legs grow weary, hobbling up and down his vineyard hills. I've come now because some people claim your father has apparently come home, but the gods are still preventing him from getting back. For there's no chance that brave Odysseus has died somewhere. No, he's still alive, but being detained on an island surrounded by the sea with wild and dangerous men restraining him, holding him back against his will. But now, let me tell you about a prophecy the gods have set here in my heart, which I think will happen, even though I am no prophet and have no sure skills in reading omens from the birds. I say Odysseus will not stay away much longer from his dear native land, not even if he's chained in iron fetters. He'll devise some way to get back home, for he's a man of infinite resources. But come now, tell me this and speak straight to the point. Are you in truth Odysseus' son? You're tall, your head and handsome eyes look just like his, astonishingly so. We used to spend a lot of time together before he left and sailed away to Troy, where other men, the best of all the Argives, voyaged too in their hollow ships. But since those days, Odysseus and I have not seen each other. Noble Telemachus then answered her and said, Stranger, I will speak quite frankly to you. My mother says I am Odysseus' son. I can't myself confirm that, for no man has ever yet been sure about his parents. I wish I'd been the son of some man blessed to reach old age among his own possessions, for now, and I say this because you asked, I'm the son of a man who is, they say, of all mortal men, the most unfortunate. Goddess Athene, with the gleaming eyes, answered him, Then at least the gods have given you a family which in days to come will have a famous name, since Penelope has given birth to such a noble son. But come, speak openly and tell me this. What is this feast? Who are these crowds of men? Why do you need this? Is it a wedding or a drinking party? It seems clear enough this is no meal where each man brings his share. It strikes me that these men are acting here in an insulting, overbearing way while dining in your home. Looking at them and their disgraceful conduct, any man who mingled with them, if he had good sense, would lose his temper. Noble Telemachus then said to Athene in reply, Stranger, since you've questioned me about the matter, I'll tell you. Our house was once well on its way to being rich and famous. At that time Odysseus was alive among his people. But now the gods with their malicious plans have changed all that completely. They make sure Odysseus stays where nobody can see him. They've not done this to anyone before. I would not show such grief if he were dead, not if he died among his comrades in the land of Troy, or if he'd perished in his friends' arms after finishing the war. Then the Achaeans all would have put up a tomb for him, and he'd have won great fame in future days, so would his son as well. But as things stand, some spirits of the storm have snatched him off and left no trace. He's gone where people cannot see or hear him, abandoning me to tears and sorrow. But it's not him alone who makes me sad and cry out in distress, for now the gods have brought me other grievous troubles. All the best young men who rule the islands, Dulichium and wooded Zacynthus and Sami, as well as those who lord it here in rocky Ithaca, they are all now wooing my mother and ravaging my house. She won't turn down a marriage she detests, but can't bring herself to make the final choice. Meanwhile, these men are feasting on my home and soon will be the death of me as well. This made Pallas Athene angry. She said to him, It's bad Odysseus has wandered off when you need him so much. He could lay his hands upon these shameless suitors. I wish he'd come home now and make a stand right at the outer gate with helmet on, 2 spears and his own shield, the sort of man he was when I first saw him in our house, drinking and enjoying himself. At that time he was returning from the home of Ilus, son of Murmerus from Ephyre. Odysseus had gone there in his fast ship seeking a man-killing poison, something he could smear on his bronze arrow points. However, Ilus did not give him any, for he revered the gods who live forever, but my father did, because he felt a very strong affection for Odysseus. How I wish Odysseus from way back then would now return and mingle with the suitors. They'd all come to a speedy end and find their courtship painful. But all these matters lie in the laps of gods. He may return and take out his revenge in his own hall, or he may not. But I'd encourage you to think of ways to force these suitors out, to rid your halls of them. So hear me out. Listen now to what I'm going to tell you. Tomorrow you must call Achaea's warriors to an assembly and address them all, appealing to the gods as witnesses. Tell the suitors to return to their own homes. As for your mother, if her heart is set on getting married, then let her return to where her father lives, for he's a man of power with great capabilities. He'll organize the marriage and arrange the wedding gifts, as many as befits a well-loved daughter. Now, as for yourself, if you'll listen, I have some wise advice. Get yourself a crew of 20 rowers and the best boat you possess. Then leave here. Go search for news about your father who's been gone so long. Some living mortal may tell you something, or you may hear a voice from Zeus, which often brings men news. Sail first to Pylos. Speak to noble Nestor. After you've been there, proceed to Sparta and fair-haired Menelaus, the last one of all bronze-clad Achaeans to get home. If you hear reports your father is alive and coming home, you could hang on a year, still wasting his resources. But if you hear that he is dead and gone, then come back here, to your dear native land. Build him a tomb and carry out as many funeral rites as are appropriate. Give your mother over to her husband. When you've done that and brought these matters to a close, then think deep in your mind and heart how you might kill these suitors in your home, either openly or by some trick. You must not keep on acting like a child. You're now too old for that. Have you not heard how excellent Orestes won fame among all men when he cut down his father's murderer, sly Aegisthus, because he'd slain his famous father? You are fine and strong, I see, and you too should be brave, so people born in future years will say good things of you. I must go now. Down to my swift ship and to my comrades. I suspect they're getting quite impatient waiting for me. Make sure you act with care, and think about what I've been telling you. Prudent Telemachus then answered her. Stranger, you've been speaking as a friend, thinking as a father would for his own son, and what you've said I never will forget. But come now, though you're eager to be off, stay here a while. Once you've had a bath and your fond heart is fully satisfied, then go back to your ship, with your spirit full of joy, carrying a costly present, something really beautiful, which will be my gift to you, an heirloom of the sort dear guest friends give to those who are their friends. Goddess Athene with the gleaming eyes then said to him, Since I'm eager to depart, don't keep me here a moment longer, and whatever gift your heart suggests you give me as a friend, present it to me when I come back here, and pick me something truly beautiful. It will earn you something worthy in return. This said, Athene with the gleaming eyes departed, flying off like some wild sea-bird. In his heart she put courage and strength. She made him recall his father, even more so than before. In his mind Telemachus pictured her, and his heart was full of wonder. He thought she was a god. So he moved away, and then the noble youth rejoined the suitors. Celebrated Phemius was performing for them as they sat in silence listening. He was singing of the return of the Achaeans, that bitter trip Athene made them take when they sailed home from Troy. In her upper room, the daughter of Icarius, wise Penelope, heard the man's inspired song. She came down the towering staircase from her room, but not alone. 2 female servants followed her. Once beautiful Penelope reached the suitors, she stayed beside the doorpost in the well-built room, with a small bright veil across her face. On either side her 2 attendants stood. With tears streaming down, Penelope addressed the famous singer. Phemius, you know all sorts of other ways to charm an audience, actions of the gods and men which singers celebrate. As you sit here, sing one of those, while these men drink their wine in silence. Don't keep up that painful song, which always breaks the heart here in my chest, for more than anyone, I am weighed down with ceaseless grief which I cannot forget. I always remember with such yearning my husband's face, a man whose fame has spread far and wide through Greece and central Argos. Sensible Telemachus answered her and said, Mother, why begrudge the faithful singer delighting us in any way his mind may prompt him to? One can't blame the singers. It seems to me it's Zeus's fault. He hands out to toiling men, each and every one of them, whatever he desires. There's nothing wrong with this man's singing of the evil fate of the Danaans, for men praise the most the song which they have heard most recently. Your heart and spirit should endure his song. For Odysseus was not the only man at Troy who lost his chance to see the day he would come back. Many men were killed. Go up to your rooms and keep busy there with your own work, the spindle and the loom. Tell your servants to perform their duties. Talking is a man's concern, every man's, but especially mine, since in this house I'm the one in charge." Astonished at his words, Penelope went back to her own chambers, setting in her heart the prudent words her son had said. With her attendant women she climbed the stairs up to her rooms, and there wept for Odysseus, her dear husband, until bright-eyed Athene cast sweet sleep upon her eyelids. In the shadowy halls the suitors started to create an uproar, each man shouting out his hope to lie beside her. Then shrewd Telemachus began his speech to them. "You suitors of my mother, who all have such insolent arrogance, let us for now enjoy our banquet, but no more shouting, for it's grand to listen to a singer as fine as this one. His voice is like a god's. But in the morning let us all assemble, sit down for a meeting, so I can speak and tell you firmly to depart my home. Make yourself some different meals which eat up your own possessions, moving house to house. But if you think it's preferable and better for one man's livelihood to be consumed without paying anything, I'll call upon the immortal gods to see if Zeus will bring about an act of retribution. And if you are destroyed inside my home, you will not be avenged." Telemachus finished. They all bit their lips, astonished that he'd spoken out so boldly. Then Antinous, son of Eupeithes, declared, "Telemachus, the gods themselves, it seems, are teaching you to be a braggart and give rash speeches. I do hope that Zeus, son of Cronos, does not make you king of this sea island Ithaca, even though it is your father's legacy to you." Shrewd Telemachus then answered him and said, "Antinous, will you be angry with me if I say something? I would be happy to accept that if Zeus gave it to me. Are you claiming that becoming king is the very worst of trials for men? No. To be king is not something evil. One's family gets rich immediately, and one receives more honours for oneself. But there are other kings of the Achaeans, many of them here in sea-girt Ithaca, young and old, one of whom could well be king since Lord Odysseus is dead. But I will rule our home and slaves, battle spoils which brave Odysseus won for me." Then Eurymachus, son of Polybus, replied, "Telemachus, these matters surely lie in the gods' laps, which of the Achaeans will rule sea-girt Ithaca. But you can keep all your possessions for yourself as king in your own home. Let no man come with force and seize your property against your will, no, not while men still live in Ithaca. But I would like to ask you, my good man, about that stranger. Where does he come from? From what country does he claim to be? Where are his family, his paternal lands? Does he bring news your father's coming? Or is he here pursuing his own business? He jumped up so fast and left so quickly. He did not stay to let himself get known, and yet, to look at him, he didn't seem a worthless man." Prudent Telemachus then answered him and said, "Eurymachus, my father's journey back to Ithaca is no doubt done for. I no longer trust in messages, no matter what the source, nor do I care for any prophecy my mother picks up from those soothsayers she summons to these halls. That stranger is a guest friend of my father's. He says that he's from Taphos. His name is Mentes, son of wise Anchialus. He rules as king over oar-loving Taphians." He said this, but in his heart Telemachus had recognized the immortal goddess. At that point, the suitors switched to dancing and to singing lovely songs. They amused themselves until dark evening came. Then each man went to his own house to sleep. Telemachus moved up to where his room was built, high in the splendid courtyard, with a spacious view, his mind much preoccupied on his way to bed. Accompanying him, quick-minded Euryclea held 2 flaming torches. She was Ops's daughter, son of Pisenor. Some years ago, Laertes had purchased her with his own wealth, at the time she was in her early youth, paying 20 oxen. In his home he honoured her the way he did his noble wife, but not once did he have sex with her, because he wanted to avoid annoying his wife. She was now carrying 2 blazing torches for him. Of all the female household slaves, she was the one who loved him most, for she had nursed him as a child. He opened the doors of the well-constructed room, sat on the bed, and pulled off his soft tunic, handed it to the wise old woman, who smoothed it out and folded it, then hung the tunic on a peg beside the corded bedstead. Then she left the room, pulling the door shut by its silver handle. She pulled the bolt across, using its leather thong. Telemachus lay there all night long, wrapped up in sheep's wool, his mind thinking of the journey which Athene had earlier proposed to him.